All right, down to the brass tacks. I think the Detroit Lions have a shot to win the NFC North. And no, I'm not being facetious. And no, I'm not drinking the Kool-Aid. Or no, I did not snort crack before doing this podcast. Here's the reason I think the Detroit Lions have a shot. Now, I posed a question on Detroit Lions News, and I got some good answers from Cheryl Williams. Every player on the team, coaches included, has to do their job. Very good answer from Cheryl. That's the way that it should be. A lot of teams they don't do it that way, but that's how easy it is to actually like get down to the brass tacks, do your job. Roy Finley. He says they have to win They have to win most of their games against the NFC North. They also have to win games that they are supposed to win, and the defense has to step up. Roy hit on a point that I need to get answered right now. When you look at the NFC North, look at Chicago. Okay, they're going to be the last place team in the division. They're not that good. Justin Fields is set up to fail. The offensive line is a farce. They just traded their best defensive player in Khalil Mack. They're probably going to trade Robert Quinn, and they lost Akeem Hicks to free agency. I don't believe Chicago is anywhere close to, being a nuisance in the division because personally, I think they're just a bad team and a bad organization. The Minnesota Vikings. They have one of the best wide receivers in football. That's obvious. But here's the issue. They're in the first year of the head coach. Just like the Bears, they have a new coach. Unlike the Bears, they have good skill positional players. The issue is they don't have an offensive line. They have questions on the offensive line. Minnesota's been looking for an offensive line for years, and they can never find an offensive line. And their defense is old. They're an older defense. I question if they can get through a 17 game season. And personally, I really don't think that they can. And then you look at the Green Bay Packers, okay? You lose Devontae Adams, you lose Scantling, you lose Lazard. You just lost your three top weapons. You have questions on the offensive line. You lost Darius Smith to Minnesota. And you're a team that's kind of in purgatory because you have a tougher schedule. You go play the Rams, you go play the Buccaneers, you play the Bills. It's a tough schedule. The Detroit Lions have an easy schedule. Now, to start the season, they play the Eagles, they play the Commanders, they play the Vikings, they play the Seahawks. I think the Seahawks and the Commanders is two wins that I think the Detroit Lions need to win. Now, if they went 2-2 in the first 4 games, that's a win. That's a win. Because when you look at the back half of the schedule, it's very easy. You're going to be playing very bad teams, and you're going to have a shot to pile up some W's. But the NFC North is not as good as it has been. Usually you see two teams that are pretty good. Minnesota was there for a while. Green Bay's been on top of the division for a long time. But, you look at Aaron Rodgers. He's older. The offensive line has questions. He just lost his 3 best weapons. What is going to become of Green Bay? If they somehow manage to get away from they manage to have a good year, Aaron Rodgers is going to be put on a pedestal as one of the best quarterbacks to play because the weapons that he has. I mean, Bill Barnwell put in the ESPN article that they are near the bottom in skill positions. You wouldn't have said that a year ago. You wouldn't have. When you look at the Detroit Lions and you look at their team, they're built to win. Because I have said it from the beginning when they made the draft picks of Sewell last year that you need to build your team through the trenches. They built their team through the trenches last year. They got Sewell. They built that lineup, and it looked really, really good last year. But the last year, we had problems with the defensive line. You add a Hutchinson, you add a Pascal, you're getting no quarterback from injury, you're getting Charles Harris, you re-sign Charles Harris, you're going to have a good rotation of defensive ends, You expect Levi Onwuzurike and Aleem McNeil to take a step forward in their progression. The defensive line could become a strength for the Detroit Lions. And with Aubrey Pleasant coaching the back secondary, you expect the secondary to be just average. If Jeff Okudah somehow, resurges his career, that could be huge. But Amani Oruwariye is one of the most underrated corners in the game, in my opinion. Jerry Jacobs has come back off injury. I think he'll have a great season. Only question I worry about with the Detroit Lions is their linebacking core. I think that is a huge question mark. I like Chris Board. He's a good player. I like Malcolm Rodriguez, but he's a rookie. Tough for a rookie to, excel early on. I need more from Derek Barnes. I need these players to take the next step. And it will tell a lot about the Detroit Lions coaching staff if these players can take the next step. But with the Detroit Lions, like I said, I think they can contend for the division. Because when you look at the division, there's not one great team. You don't have a Kansas City in your division. You don't have a Tampa Bay Buccaneers in your division. You don't have an LA Rams or a San Francisco 49ers in your division. I mean, Green Bay is a good team, but they have lost a lot. And it's not out of the ordinary to question if they're going to be the same team this year. When you look at the Detroit Lions, here's one way that they can contend for the NFC North. If they can, in their first 6 games, if they can go 3-3, that would be a total win. If they go anything better than that, they will have the best shot to contend for the NFC North, because you look at that back half of the schedule, and it's not good. There's some bad teams like the Jets and the Giants and the Bears, where they could just stack up wins, and then they go to Green Bay at the end of the year. They could potentially stack up the momentum, and as they get to Green Bay, they could be playing themselves for the division title in Green Bay. When you watch the first part of this video, you were like, okay, what is this guy saying? But Donald, he's a friend of the show. He posted on the comments, and I loved his comment. He said, I asked, what does the Detroit Lions have to do? He responded, 1, protection. The offensive line must give Goff time, and Goff has to capitalize with that protection. That's a great point. Goff has to capitalize. He has to find people open. He has to find players in the seam. And when Jameson Williams comes back, roughly around the bye week, that could be an added trade deadline acquisition for the Detroit Lions. 2, Swift must also take advantage of the offensive line to have a career season. I don't think he needs to have a career season. I think he just needs to be good. And I think he needs to take advantage of the offensive line and control the tempo with the ball control offense that Dan Campbell is trying to install in the Detroit Lions. His third one is a little bit out of the ordinary. The defense needs to be lights out. You're not going to have a defense that's lights out this early on. And, obviously with the questions with the linebacking core, maybe they surprise people and they're a great defense. But even if they're top 15, I think that would be good enough for the Detroit Lions going into the last back half of the schedule, because you're going to be playing some homely offenses that can't score. And if your defense is top 15, that means they're in the top echelon of the league, and they could really make things difficult. But you look at the Detroit Lions, there's so much that can happen, and if they can get it done, I could totally see this Detroit Lions team winning the NFC North if they play their game, if they get out to a good start. If it's a matter of if, I'm trying to examine ways that the Detroit Lions can get to another step in the progression, and the way that they played at the end of the season, I think they can continue that. I think the Vegas odds, the people betting in Vegas, saying the Detroit Lions are going to go over 6 wins, and it's the most betted on team in the NFL. I think that has to tell you a lot about the Detroit Lions and the way it's perceived in the national media and nationally, that the Detroit Lions could potentially be that team that surprises everybody. And to me, it wouldn't be a surprise. It would not be a surprise to see the Detroit Lions challenge for the NFC North, because there's teams in the NFC North that aren't that good, that have significant deficiencies, and you're going to see it come to a whole nother level when they come play. They play the top teams. The Vikings, the Packers, the Bears, they all have deficiencies on the offensive line. Packers and the Bears have deficiencies in skill positions, and the Vikings, they have an old defense, and it's going to be hard to see them, last 17 weeks into the season. So I'm trying to figure out what this team can be. If you look at the Detroit Lions, I think they can challenge for the NFC North. I'm wondering what you think. So let me know in the comments, and we'll break it down. And I'm gonna have my Detroit Lions season preview. We're gonna preview the quarterbacks. We're gonna preview the running backs. We're gonna preview every part of the team, including the coaches. Join me for that. They'll probably come out in 2 weeks. We will see you then. Football is around the corner. Subscribe to my podcast on Apple and Spotify, Kings of the Jungle, and you can subscribe to my YouTube channel, Between the Whistles Detroit. We will see you in the next podcast. Thank you for